taken it as a matter of pride for the Union Territory, looked at the G20 as an opportunity, and I'm sure if the G20 is the most significant international event we have held in India ever, this will be the most significant event ever in Jammu and Kashmir, and we are all looking forward to that. As many of you would undoubtedly know, we are now at an approximate halfway point in our presidency of the G20. In the last approximately 6 months, we have completed 118 meetings in 46 different cities across the length and breadth of our country. We obviously, for every meeting that is held, there is a lot of planning and preparation and organization. And I think the meeting in Srinagar is no exception to that. This has entailed planning at least a year and a half prior to this actual event. The G20 Secretariat and members of the Ministry of Tourism have been visiting Srinagar. Secretary Tourism and I myself visited tourism. This is the second time we are here in advance of the meeting. When we came here about a few months ago, we saw that there was a lot of work in progress. Srinagar is a smart city. There was a lot of effort to complete the work relating to the smart city project. We also looked at many of the areas that were relevant to the G20. And I can say with all sincerity that as we drive around the city, we see a completely transformed Srinagar. We've gone to the markets, we've gone to the riverfront, we've gone to the lake area, we've gone to many of the other places that we visited the last time. And we've found that Srinagar today is vastly more beautiful. Its facilities and amenities are that much greater. There is a lot of pride when we talk to many of the citizens, when we move around the city, in some of the systems that have been introduced, whether it is underground optic fibers, sewerage systems, water and drainage. I think from that perspective, it is truly a smart city of the type that we would like to showcase to the rest of the world. And tomorrow, as you would receive a very large number of international delegates that would come from some of the most influential countries across the world, I think we can say with pride that this is one of our most beautiful, naturally scenic, but also one of the most beautiful urban environments that we can present to our guests from across the world. Now, one thing that is that Secretary Tourism and Additional Secretary Rakesh Ji has already told you is that the Tourism Working Group is a very specific one. It is actually one of the working groups that is most in line with our objectives to present our rich and diverse cultural identity, to also present to the world our tourism potential. And no other working group does it better than the Tourism Working Group. In the first working group of the tourism engagement, or rather the tourism group, was in Rann of Kutch in Gujarat, western part of India. The second one was in Darjeeling in West Bengal, in the eastern part of India. The third, of course, which is Srinagar, which is the northern part of India, will present to our tourism representatives from across the world one of the most, as I said, scenic spots in our country, and from the tourism perspective, very, very relevant. But what is more important, I think, is that we have tried to bring in specific elements of tourism, as Secretary mentioned, whether it is sustainable tourism, eco-tourism, adventure tourism, film tourism, what is relevant to J&K and what is relevant to the Union Territory and the people of this place is what is being highlighted in this Tourism Working Group meeting. As you also know that the vision of the Prime Minister is to ensure that the message of India's G20 presidency is taken down to the grassroots level through a Jan Bhagidari process. And so a lot of efforts have been made to sensitize people in our country about G20, and that is why we've also held it in locations across our country, north, south, east and west. And in that context, I think a lot of effort has been done in Jammu and Kashmir in terms of the events that have been held on G20. I'm sure Chief Secretary will speak more about it, but we were very, very impressed with things like the walkathon, things like the cycle event that was held to popularize G20, or the mock G20 process, or the awareness rally in Badgam, and you had, as I said, the walkathon in Baramulla. sports is an important area where G20 is being popularized. So this, I think, is critical, and film tourism, as Secretary mentioned, is very specific to J&K. Every meeting should have outcomes, and I said that there is no better outcome in terms of any sector or any industry than tourism in terms of percolation of wealth, distribution of wealth. The very idea that we should use this meeting to draw attention to Jammu and Kashmir, introduce qualitative and specific and new areas of tourism. How can this help revive the local economy in terms of handicrafts, textiles, in many of the other very, very critical areas in Jammu and Kashmir, which has a very rich culture and handicrafts tradition, I think is very, very important. And we ourselves have seen there's a lot of effort and excitement in the city and in the state, in the Union Territory, on the potentials that can come forward. We've seen women's self-help groups, we've seen many groups mobilize, and I want to mention this as not a person who lives in Jammu and Kashmir, someone who has come and seen it from outside, but we are proud of the fact that we have such traditions in our country, and those traditions are today being revived, popularized and promoted in a manner that has never been done before.